All right, what's going on, everybody? You know, it is your boy Narcolepsy Boy 94, aka Malik, back here again with another podcast on YouTube. This time we're doing an interview. Usually, we kind of switch things up, but today we're going to do a special interview with a special guest of mine who I'll let introduce himself. Go ahead and tell everybody who you are and, what you do. And
I am Aaron Williams. I am a independent professional wrestler. I've been wrestling for over 10 years or so. I have got to wrestle some of the best performers in the world. And thanks for having me, man. Guess we're going to have some fun and talk about some silly stuff, right?
yeah, let's talk about, pretty much whatever. Some people come in here with some crazy questions sometimes. So, it really depends. But you said you've been in the business for what, over 10 years now? So that's such a long time. And one things I wanted to ask is what got you into wrestling? When you were a kid, was it somebody that you knew? Like my uncle was the one who got me into it. He was a big fan growing up as a kid, and as I was growing up, he was still into it, and he really is the one who kind of gravitated me towards it. So was there somebody in your life that kind of got you into it, or was it just something that you just happened to come upon?
I think it was mainly just something that I kind of came upon. My first memories of wrestling were sitting on the floor on Saturday mornings,
Mhm.
eating cereal and watching wrestling and seeing Randy Savage and guys like that cut promos and all that stuff. And that was kind of my first memories of it. I got into it. I was a fan. I did backyard wrestling for a while. I eventually found a independent wrestling promotion locally to me called Heartland Wrestling Association. And I would go to their shows whenever I got the opportunity to. It was ran by Les Thatcher, and they had a developmental deal, kind of like OVW did at the time in Cincinnati. And started going to those shows and kind of realized that I could train a little bit and eventually do it you know, for real, not just
Mhm.
backyard. And we one of our backyard guys, he was like the biggest and the best of us, I guess, like, and he
Yeah,
went
yeah.
one day and asked Les about training, and Les kind of took one look at him and said, "You're way too small to do this. I can't train you." So kind of kicked all of us like right in the junk and said like, "Oh, well, I guess we can't do it." And then I ran into a friend of mine who also liked wrestling shortly after that at church somewhere. And he was like, "Well, are you still into wrestling?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Well, I train at a little place in Price Hill. If you want to train, you can come with me to do it." I was like, "Well, shoot, okay." And then I went and started training at that a little
Wait,
old, I guess it was an old bowling alley or something in
what
Price
year was
Hill.
this? What year was this around?
This was, I think, 2002, roughly.
2000. Okay. So were you
So
like
yeah.
were you in college around that time or?
No, I like was just out of high school. I decided I didn't want to, like, once I realized it's really dumb now, but once I
I
realized that, oh,
mean,
I can actually go and be a wrestler, then that's what I'm gonna do. So I didn't even worry about college. I put all my eggs into the wrestling basket, and
go for
so
the
I
dream,
just
man.
went and yeah, I just went and dedicated my whole existence to wrestling, and that's pretty much kind of how it's been ever since.
So
Just
you said you just
unfortunately, I'm
no, go
sorry. Go
ahead.
ahead.
You said you did
I was
some.
just
No, my fault. Go ahead. I'll let you go. I'll let you go.
no, I was just like, unfortunately, it hasn't like I haven't been at the right place at the right time yet, but I'm having a great time still doing it, so it's all good.
I mean, sometimes it takes time for people to even make it that far. You know what I mean? You look at somebody like AJ Styles. Even though AJ Styles was kind of big where he was at, but he didn't get to his goal was to get to WWE, but it took him like 16 years to even to even get there. You know what I mean? It's a long time. So I mean,
Yep.
takes a process for some people sometimes. You know what I mean? But I respect that. You went and did what you did. You did to follow your dream. Not a lot of people, will take that risk. You know what I mean? That's a big risk to take now to go to college and to decide, this is what I want to do as a career wise. This is what I'm going to go for. Not everybody would know. Not everybody would have been dedicated to like that. So you gotta respect that. You said you did some backyard wrestling too. So was it kind of like you
Yeah.
had like your own little backyard wrestling promotion like growing up, or is it something just to do for fun? Because like you see a lot of
Well,
came into the wrestling, they kind of had their own like little backyard wrestling type thing.
it was actually a friend of mine. Uh, he we were walking around in a town called Bethel one day, and we were buddies. And he mentioned that he knew somebody who had a wrestling ring in their backyard. And I said, "You're joking?" And he's like, "No, man. Like, actually, it's like right a couple blocks away. You want to check it out?" And I said, "Well, yeah." So we went over there, and he introduced me to the people who owned it, and they had their own little federation that they had going on, and they had like some adults involved that would do like some of the writing and everything like that. They had a ring, they kind of made themselves, so it was like makeshift, but it did the job.
Yeah,
And yeah, so like we actually did some relatively decent shows. Like we would do our own like person in the backyard like weekly, I think. And then eventually we got to the point where we would do shows at like boys and girls clubs or like little festivals in the town and stuff. We would do shows for them. I guess in the grand scheme of backyard wrestling, it was pretty successful, I guess.
yeah. Somebody in the chat wants to know why why I don't want to become a pro wrestler. Well, let me tell you, I've been in the ring a couple of times, and I've taken one bump. And they usually say, after the you can attest to this, you're a wrestler. They say usually after that first bump, whether or not this is really for you or not, because at that first bump will change, your perspective on it. And when I took that first bump, I knew that this shit was not for me. Definitely, they did not feel good, and I don't like physical. I don't like physicality. I don't like pain, and taking that bump, just my mind already knew like that's probably not something that I would see myself doing for the future. So I know my boundaries. I would love to do like stuff in wrestling, like maybe like creative stuff. But as far as like being a wrestler, like my man over here, yeah, that wasn't too excited after that bump. I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't too excited. So now what about you? When you took your first bump, was it something that you love? Because I know I talked to Savion about that, and he was like, I loved it. So it was awesome.
Oh yeah, like I trained in martial arts for pretty much my entire like adolescence years and into my adulthood and everything. So I was pretty used to falling and getting thrown around and everything like that. So really didn't it didn't it didn't mess with me at all. I was like, shoot, I'm pretty good at falling, so this is going to work out for me. Probably what I remember most is like the first time I stepped onto an actual professional wrestling ring. Before I took a bump in it or anything, just touching the ropes and walking on the apron and getting ready to slide through the ropes, like I could like feel that, yeah, this is what I need to do. This is where I need to be. This is what I need to be doing. Like
Mhm.
I like the back of the hairs on the back of my head or the head neck stood up and everything like that. It was like electricity kind of going through me, and that's kind of what basically was like. All right, well, yeah, this is it. This is where we're gonna be now.
Yeah, because it was cool to be in the ring. Like it was cool, to I would tell people this too. Being on the top rope is like way higher than people think. Like it's very high. Like I did not expect that. Like getting on the top rope, I'm like, holy shit! Like this is a lot higher than I thought it was gonna be. But yeah, I don't know. After that first bump, man, it was just I wasn't feeling it, man. I wasn't feeling it. I took that first bump and I'm like, because I didn't really want to take one to begin with. And they were like, you got to take one to see if this is, something like you just take it. So, and I took a good bump too. Like the dude I was with, he was like, you took a really good bump. And I was like, yeah, but I just couldn't see myself doing that like on a consistent basis. Like there was like I'll stick to the trampoline or something, something light and something soft, something soft. So, um, another thing I want to ask you, what are some people growing up that I think we all have had maybe wrestlers that we idolized or wrestlers that kind of gravitated us to get into it. For me, it was John Cena. People know that growing up, John Cena was like he was one of my idols. growing up as a kid. One of the people I looked up to, somebody that one of the main reasons that I really got into wrestling heavily was because of him. Who was some of the wrestlers? Was it just one wrestler or a couple of them for you that were like, no, this is my guy,
Uh,
and he's one of the reasons?
I think like originally it was definitely Shawn Michaels.
Yeah,
Like seeing Shawn like just do pretty much anything. He was a smaller guy. He was great, super charismatic. Just pretty much anything the man did was awesome at the time. So he was definitely the one that made me be like, yeah, this is a thing, and this is something that I would love to be able to do someday. And then, as time went on and I got a little older, and Sean kind of had to retire there for a while, and then it became like guys like RVD really started to stick out to me, like Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, uh, dudes like that, and then like a lot of the cruiserweights from like the WCW days, and Jericho was a big one as well.
yeah,
So yeah, like a lot of guys like that in that size range, mainly because I just like in that style, I like that like striker like catch as catch can style a lot. So that got anybody who kind of did that like really got my attention and kind of was like, yeah, like these are the dudes that I will kind of model myself after. And if you get a chance to watch any of my matches, you probably can see a lot of those people in my stuff and when I perform and do my thing. So yeah, probably
yeah.
those dudes.
Was there a wrestler or some wrestlers that growing up like, as a kid, that you hated, that you just absolutely didn't like? Because you're a kid, so when you're a kid, just certain bad guys that you may not like because they were a bad guy and they beat up your favorite wrestler or something like that.
Honestly, before we started, we were talking about Hulk Hogan a little bit. Like NWO era Hulk Hogan, I hated. Just
Yeah,
hated Hulk Hogan. Yeah, hated him. I think it's because as a little bitty kid, I was a Hulkamaniac, and then
yeah,
when he became a bad guy, I was just like, whatever. This guy
yeah.
sucks. I hate him.
And
Uh,
I
and
think
like now to
definitely
this
shocked a lot of
day,
people
for
too.
some reason, I really couldn't tell you why. And most people are like kind of they don't get it, but the Miz, I can't stand the Miz.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just his face, man. He's just got one of them faces. I just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know.
Miz is a very, very good heel, yo. A very good heel. And I'll
I
be
mean,
honest, when I when Miz first started coming up, I didn't like him either. I remember when he became the champion, when he beat Randy Orton, became the WWE champion. I'm like, why is he the champion? Like, what? I just didn't understand it. Like, I just didn't understand like how he was the champion. Like, I never understood it. And over the years, honestly, I would say he became one of my favorites. Like, this as I got older, seeing his heel work and see like how people would react to him and shit like that. I'm like, yo, this is actually really good. And, like, I don't know why, I didn't see it then, but like looking at him now, I'm like, he's really good actually. Like, he's really, really good. But I got a friend of mine who's older too, and he feels the same way as you. He's like, man, I don't know why, I just don't like Miz. Like, I just don't like him. Like, something about it.
I mean, I definitely won't say he's not good, and he's definitely good at what he does. But maybe that's what it is. He's so good that he even gets me. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. I just
I, th-
just
I
want
think he
want
just
to give him
comes
one of
off
those
as
right there.
he looks like I think he just looks like a legit asshole. I think that's what people don't like him. Like, he just comes off as that, like the on-screen stuff and the way he carries himself is just like he just some people like that's why he said he kind of didn't like him. He was like, man, I just feel like the way he's on TV, I feel like that's how he really is. I'm like, I just feel like that's who he really is as a person. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he would just he would cheat to do something. You know what I mean? Like, or he would just do this and do that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. Like, that's why the Miz is a really good heel. Like, he's been a good heel for years, and I think that's why like people really don't like him. So I mean, it's funny you said that though, because I
Probably
was
on
like
to
that.
something.
I was like that at one point too. And Miz was somebody that somebody at one point that I couldn't get behind either, man. I didn't like him, but then over the years, I was like, man, he's actually one of my favorites, though, man. He's one of my favorites. For growing up, though, for me, man, you say you didn't like Hollywood Hogan. I hated Edge so much. I couldn't even tell you my
Really?
hatred. for Edge. 'Cause I'm a John Cena fan, so when he was kind of my boy. See,
Yeah.
like the first time I ever, because I started watching wrestling like in late 04, like towards the winter of 2004, and I was like 6 or 7 at the time. And Eddie Guerrero was actually the first wrestler that kind of got me into it. He was my first favorite, you know what I mean, because of his character and everything. I was like, this guy's cool. He came out
Yeah.
a low rider like that. I was like, this guy's cool, you know what I mean? But then he turned into a bad guy, so that I didn't like him anymore. But then, like, before he turned into a bad guy, John Cena was kind of already becoming my favorite. Like, this guy right here, this my dude right here. But the first time I think I ever really got pissed off in wrestling, where it kind of brought the emotion out of me as a fan, is when Edge cashed in that Money in the Bank for the first time. And because Cena just went through that chamber, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, Cena retained the title, and then Edge comes out. We never seen the Money in the Bank cashed in yet, so we didn't know how it could even be utilized. So when they said there's one more match and Ed come out with that briefcase, what is this? Like, what is this shit? You can't do this. And I'm a kid at the time, like, this is illegal. Like, somebody come out and stop this. And then he became the champion. I was hot. Like, I was really pissed off. Like, went to school the next day. Like, just didn't talk to anybody. Like, don't talk to me. Like, I don't want to speak to people. Like, John Cena's not the champion anymore. I'm so mad. You know what I mean? So I would say Edge, man. Edge was a really good heel for back in growing up in my days. He did his job very well. Like, to upset me the way he did, he was very good. He was very good.
I remember that era because like that was right around the time with all the Matt Hardy Lita stuff and
there was this aggression.
Yeah, like so, like I recall that, and yeah, that was real good. Because he had some real heat at that point in time, and
I felt like he was
solid.
I felt like he was doing everything to attack me personally because my favorite women's wrestler of all time is Lita. And then Lita turns into a bad guy and joins with Edge. Then, of course, he cashes in on Cena. And then my second favorite wrestler of all time is The Undertaker, and he cashed in on Taker, too, to take the title from him. So I'm like, this guy is...
He's just coming for you, man.
This guy is personally... He knows who I am, and he's just personally trying to upset me. Like, I'm just convinced. He's coming after all my favorite people. He's torturing me as a kid, so... I would say definitely Edge for me. Edge for me was the guy that really. I mean, I love Edge now, legend. You know what I mean? Edge now, one of my favorites. But growing up as a kid, yeah, Edge was. He was not somebody that I really gravitated towards too. You know what I mean? Like when I first started watching it. So we kind of talked about this off the air, but since you're in the business and you've been in it for a while, what are your thoughts on wrestling today? We kind of talked about it off the air. I kind of know like there are a lot of promotions out there to do, but what do you like about wrestling today in 2021?
Like there's so much like one of the things we were talking about off air is like that there's so much wrestling now that there's no like if you're a fan of wrestling, you can pretty much this day and age you can find wrestling that you can enjoy and like anywhere, like at all times. Like wrestling is not a niche thing anymore where you gotta wait at your wait until Monday to watch it or anything like that. You can literally watch any type of wrestling at any point in time on any platform you want, and I really love that. Like there's obviously the network, there's live wrestling. There's AEW that does stuff. They have stuff on YouTube all the time. You got Fight TV that also has wrestling on a regular basis. There's excuse me. There's IWTV, which is the independent wrestling TV that has GCW and ICW and all these other places that are just like there's so much wrestling now that for like the good thing is that there's so much of it that you, as a fan, you can literally always be watching wrestling if you choose to. For a wrestler, you can always be studying wrestling if you want to. The only downside is there is so much wrestling now that for a wrestler, it's sometimes hard to break through in certain avenues or territories or promotions or anything like that because as they should, every wrestling company. They do what works. You do what makes you money. You do what people want to see. So if you have a core group of guys on an independent level that people want to see, you're more likely just to continue to book those guys and not really worry about all the other people trying to get in or anything like that, or not really wanting to cycle talent in and out. But overall, wrestling is becoming more and more of a mainstay of just average life now. Like I was just telling you, like if you're a wrestling fan, you get on your social media, more than likely your social media algorithms are just going to tell you when wrestling is happening, what's happening in wrestling. If
Yeah.
you're in wrestling Twitter, it's going to be there all the time, like no matter what. So like it's so multifaceted now that it's very exciting as a wrestler and as a fan if you can view it the right way. Like we were also talking about that as well. If you can view it as what it is, you can make it enjoyable instead of like hating on it all the time. If you can look at it for like this is an entertaining thing that I enjoy, whether it be something of the death match variety, if you're into that, or if you're into like WWE, or if you're into AEW, if you're into certain wrestlers, like you don't have to like hate wrestling. You can just pay attention to what you like. Like it doesn't there's a lot of cool things. What do you like, what are some things that you really feel are standout positives about wrestling today?
Well, kind of like you said, there's so much wrestling out there to watch. We talked about earlier how some people feel like they have to be one-sided about certain things. Like, if you watch WWE, then you can't watch AEW, or you can't like this, you know what I mean? Like, why can't you? Why can't you just enjoy wrestling in general? Like I went to an AEW show, the AEW show in Cincinnati they had back in, I
Mm-hmm.
think, the summer. And, people were asking me like, why are you at AEW, or why are you at the show? Like, what do you mean why I'm at the show? I like wrestling. Like I watch AEW. I like the product. I like what's going on. You know what I mean? If it was an GCW show, I would go there too. If it was a New Japan show, I go watch that. If it was Impact, I go see that too. You know what I mean? Like, I like wrestling, so I'm familiar with other platforms just besides one. You don't have to be stuck on just one platform. I get that when you grow up. Let me talk about that too. Like when you grow up, majority of people who grow up watching wrestling fall in love with WWE because that's like the monster of the wrestling world. You know what I mean? Like that's just what you see on TV as much. That's just what's more popular. All the wrestlers are more popular. Everything's more popular when it comes to WWE. But as you get older, if you become a fan at heart, you should just really like wrestling for what wrestling is. And in 2021, we're winning as fans. There's so much wrestling out there to watch. You can enjoy so many things. And going into 2022 is probably going to be even better because it's only going to continue to expand for the future. So why can't you just get into
Mm-hmm.
everything or just avoid certain things? If WWE is doing something that you don't like, you can go check out AEW and see if they're doing something that you do like. If AEW is doing something you don't like, you can go check out WWE or Impact or somebody else to see what you're doing if you don't like. If you like certain superstars, you could also follow their careers and see what they do. I know people who were upset that certain people, some people were upset that Bryan Danielson left WWE and went to the AEW. You know what I mean? Like, wow, man, he's not in WWE. I can't watch him anymore. Like, well, you can still watch him. He's just in a different promotion. He's not Daniel Bryan anymore. He's Bryan Danielson, but he's still the same. He's still the same wrestler. You can go watch him in a different promotion. Like you can't. Why I don't understand how people say like I can't watch him anymore. Or I can't. It sucks that they're gone. You know what I mean? But like they're still on TV. It's not like they're retired or they're not wrestling anymore. You can still go see what that person is doing, and you may even like what that person is doing better in another promotion. You don't know. Like I think Bryan Danielson has been doing great stuff since he's been in AEW. He's had great matches. Adam Page, Kenny Omega. Two the best matches of the year. You know what I mean? So there's other things out there that you can expand and watch, and that's what I love about wrestling today as well. Is that there's so much out there. We were growing up as kids. You know what I mean? Like there was wrestling out there, but like you didn't really know about everything. You didn't know about all the independent promotion out there. You may have known the local ones around you, but you didn't know about stuff like I talked to off the air. Because of social media, I met a guy who owns a promotion in Virginia. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what that company was, and I would have never known what they were unless it was for social media, unless it was for this guy, seeing
Mm-hmm.
this guy's stuff. And then he reached out to me, and then we ended up talking, and I went down there and, saw his little promotion, everything like that. But like, I didn't know that thing existed. I didn't know that promotion's out there. And you see how many promotions are really out there. There's so much wrestling out there to watch and enjoy. And if you want to get into it as well, there's so many things, you can try to get into. There's plenty of promotions, I'm sure, independently wherever you live at, whether it's in the US or Canada or wherever you're from. There's so much wrestling out there. And I think it's continued to evolve too, because I think we also kind of come from that era where like when you got to a certain age, it wasn't cool to watch wrestling anymore. You know what I mean? Like it was uncool to start if you kept watching certain the past age. You know what I mean? Like people be like, "Why are you watching that fake wrestling?" Or "You still watching wrestling?" You know what I mean? But it's like now I feel like it's more of accepted. You know, it's kind of people like I think embrace it more. You know what I mean? Because like there's a period of time, you know, when I was getting a little older, I really didn't talk about wrestling much or to tell people I still watch wrestling because it wasn't a cool thing. You know what I mean? And people kind of grew out of it. So like, you know, for me, I still watched it, but I didn't really talk about it with anybody because nobody else really cared about it anymore. But I feel like now we live in that time where it's like, you know, wrestling fans can have that special bond, you know, like if you see somebody out in public with a wrestling shirt, you might go say, "Hey, what's up, man?" You know, like how you doing? You know, like I
Yeah.
like you mean, like, you know, you just get it. You know what I mean? Like you just understand it. So I feel like with the era that we're in now, like you said, there's so much wrestling out there to enjoy, whether it's deathmatch wrestling or it's independent professional wrestling, or whether it's, you know, big brand wrestling or overseas wrestling, New Japan, you know, AAA over in Mexico. You know, there's so much stuff out there to enjoy and watch. Just try to get into everything. I tell people that all the time, man. You don't have to be stuck on one thing. You can try to get a little bit into everything. Know who people are. You know, that way you're familiar with them if they go somewhere that you like. You know, if somebody goes to AEW and you know who this guy was, well, maybe go back and study it. You know, go back and see some of their stuff they did it before and see what you like, see what you check out. You know what I mean? Like I told you about it before. The one guy when I talked about the video with AJ Styles, he said he didn't know who AJ Styles was until he came to WWE. Now, for me, that's mind blowing because I'm like, AJ Styles has been one of the biggest wrestlers in the world for years to me. You know, I've known who he was since I was like 6. But some people just don't, they're not familiar with other products out there besides one thing. So I think people need to expand their mind and expand their process of thinking when it comes to wrestling and try to get into everything. Like you said, like there's so much stuff to get into. Like if you're a fan, get into it, man. There's other things out there you can watch besides one thing. You know, you don't have to. You're not gonna like. It's the one thing I always tell people. It's impossible to make every wrestling fan happy at once because everybody wants to see different things. Not everybody's gonna agree on certain situations or certain things. You know what I mean? Not everybody's gonna like the superstar. And everybody's gonna like that superstar. And everybody's gonna like that match. And everybody's gonna like that storyline. You know what I mean? So if you don't like that, then that's cool. But maybe you can go check out something else that you will get into. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and there really is so much out there. Like, I mean, you were talking about like you get people who just like kind of gravitate to like WWE, for example. If you like WWE and you watch like say maybe your favorite wrestler is Seth Rollins. Well, did you know that Seth Rollins was Tyler Black? And before he was
Yeah.
Seth Rollins, he was in ROH and he was wrestling all kinds of guys like Chris Hero and Jerry Lynn and Nigel McGuinness, which may be people that you've never even given an opportunity to because they've never been to the WWE, but they're still fantastic and they could bring something else to the table that maybe you didn't know they had, or maybe they could introduce you to somebody else that you didn't know that you would be a huge fan of, and then you could enjoy their what they bring to the table as well. Like it's wrestling
Yeah.
is so deep and vast, and especially at this point in time with your ability to just go on YouTube and type in somebody's name and find a plethora of matches you never ever saw before. It makes it exciting again, and if you're a fan and you really want to get to know these guys, like everybody who's on that level, almost anybody who's main event in Mania, they had a career before they went to WWE. They had something going on before they got there. Like ROH is a thing, and IWO Mid South was a thing, which most of the guys who went through ROH that ended up in WWE started out at IWO Mid South. There's just there's so much, man. It's and like if you're a big fan of wrestling, there's really no stopping you from just diving in and just discovering all these incredibly talented, dedicated people. And I mean, I hope people do. I hope they realize that there's so much more. Like if you live in a vast world, but you just put yourself in a one box of a city, then how much of that world how much are you really seeing? Like
Yeah.
there's so much beauty in the world, right? But if you never ever leave your home, how can you experience all that beauty? Wrestling's the same way. If there's so much wrestling out there, but you only watch Monday nights, then how much do you think you're missing out on?
Exactly. You know, it's kind of like movies too. Like, you know, we talked about that off the air too. Like, you know, the Harry Potter series, right? You know, I mean, like if people say you met somebody who said they didn't like Harry Potter, but they never seen the movie. Well, how do you know how do you know you don't like it? You haven't watched it. You just don't like it
Yeah.
because of what you think the movie's about. Go watch the movie, and then you can see whether or not it's for you or not. That's how things could be. You know, not every wrestling promotion or everything in wrestling is going to be for you, but at least check it out first. Then I always say don't jump to conclusions before things happen. Wait to see how it plans out, and wait to see how it unfolds. You know, when they first started doing the Brock and Roman storyline again, I was like, we've already seen this. You know what I mean? Like they're doing it again. We've already seen it, but let me see what this will look like first. You know, before I decide whether or not this is for me or not. And I love what they've been doing. You know, the whole Paul Heyman situation being involved. I think this is the best story Roman and Brock have done together since they've been working together. You know what I mean? So you never know. You never know if you're gonna like things or if you don't like things. Just give it a chance and see how it evolves. You know, let it give it a chance to see what it can be for you. You know, we talked about Spider-Man too. Like, you know, some people won't watch certain Spider-Man movies because it's not that certain actor playing Spider-Man. But I'm like, it's still Spider-Man. Like, it's the story of Spider-Man. It's just not Tobey Maguire, or it's not Andrew Garfield, or it's not Tom Holland. You know what I mean? Playing Spider-Man. It's just same. It's the movie Spider-Man. It's just a different actor. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand people like that. I never understood how people can be that way with certain things if you haven't seen it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna judge something, that's fine. If you don't like something, that's fine. But at least see it first, or at least give it a chance before you can decide whether or not it's for you or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, I definitely agree. And I think wrestling is a perfect example of that type of mentality. Uh, I mean, I know guys who follow wrestling like locally, they followed it like big time. And then, after a while, they're just like, you know what, this just really isn't for me so much. But they really enjoyed New Japan. So now they watch New Japan and they enjoy New Japan. And occasionally they'll dip their toe in something else. But New Japan seems to be their thing. And that's fine. Like they tried other stuff, didn't like it, and landed over here, and it's like, all right, man, cool.
What about some of your favorite opponents and matches that you've had throughout your career since you've been in it? Do some stick out in your head, like, you know, really love working with that guy or that match right there?
Oh,
I'm sure there's a
shoot,
bunch.
man, like there really are. Like I just put on my Twitter the other or earlier today, and I was very curious. I was just like, all right, so what match of mine in 2021 did you really enjoy? And I got like a lot of people replying to me, and some of them I remembered, and some of them I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that match. That was a good match. And oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. That was a good match. But one that always I think I'll always be pretty glad I worked with was before he signed to WWE. I worked with John Moxley a pretty good amount. Though he was probably one of my favorite opponents. Um, Fingers crossed it'll happen again. We'll see. Um, and let's see. I'd say like recently, um, been having a lot of like independent matches that have been really really fun. But a lot of opponents I've got to wrestle some great talent. Like I said, I got to wrestle John Moxley. I've got to wrestle Eddie Kingston. I've got to wrestle Ricochet. I've got to wrestle. Um, whew,
Callahan,
Shoot, man, I've got to wrestle a lot of people. Like, it's hard to kind of like go through it and name them all. I've got to wrestle LA Knight in NXT. Got to
yeah.
wrestle Johnny Gargano. There's a lot of them that I've got to tussle with, and they were all like special and cool in their own way. But I think Moxley's probably one of my favorites, just because man, he was even then he was like so like smart about things. He was really really smart about a lot of stuff. Sammy Callahan's another one I got to wrestle a ton.
Yeah.
Um, whew, But yeah, man, there's really so many. I think some of my recent favorite opponents is I got a tag partner, Gary J. He's right there on
Yeah.
my hoodie there.
Somebody in
Uh,
chat said their favorite match definitely you and Gary J. Antoine Smith.
yeah, yeah, like I I've got to wrestle him multiple times, and I think we had two really good ones this year. One was for ICW in the chains. I'm sure you're familiar with that to some extent. And we wrestled, and I knocked myself out, like I went to do a suicide dive. My head hit the concrete, busted myself open. Totally don't remember that match at all, but I hear it was really, really good. And then another one we
happens
had was
sometimes,
for a
man.
place called Unsanctioned Pro in Columbus, and that was a barn burner. You can see both of those on IWTV if you have IWTV. Those are probably some of my recent favorite ones, but there really is so many, man. Like I one day I will sit down and I'll be like, all right, so what's some of my favorite matches that I've had?
Mhm.
Um, but it's a long list. It's a really long list.
Even the match you and Donnie had, I was there for that one, but I thought that was a really good
Yeah,
match.
yeah, that was fun too, and I really enjoyed that one too because I don't get to wrestle much in Cincinnati. It's not a thing that happens all that much. So whenever I get to, I kind of like it's important to me. Um,
Yeah,
and I really like Donnie. I like Sabian too. I got to have a match with him a couple years back
yeah.
around Christmas actually, and I
What's
enjoyed that.
what's crazy is that after the match with Donnie, me and Savion, he came back to my place and we watched that. We were watching some of his matches on YouTube, and that was one of the matches that we watched was even him back over
Oh
again.
yeah,
Yeah, so
nice, nice. Yeah,
we
I
watched,
forgot that was on YouTube.
yeah, it's on YouTube. He was showing me the one with him and Don because before when we were in the car riding, I seen some of your stuff, but I haven't seen much of Donnie stuff yet. And I talked to Donnie backstage and everything, and he said he only been wrestling for like 2 or 7 years. I'm like, holy shit, like you only been wrestling for like this short period of time. And Savion was saying that one of the best matches that he had was with Donnie, and we watched it on YouTube and everything, and it was a really good match. Man, I'm like, holy shit, like I didn't know this guy. He only been in the business for a short period of time, but he's actually getting he's developing really good, man. Like he's actually pretty good. And I thought you guys had a really good match together.
Yeah, like him and both Donnie and Sabian. Like I've kind of noticed. Like I mean, I've been around a while. I've got to have a lot of matches with a lot of younger guys and guys who are like haven't been in the business very long. And there's
Mhm.
like little things that everybody does, not just new guys, but even guys who are seasoned. There's like a lot of little things that people do that are like either right on point or just a little bit off.
Mhm.
And both of them like have kind of skipped that. I don't want to say green, but that's really like the best word I can come to right now is they skip some of them like green hiccup spots. Like they don't make as many hiccups as a lot of young guys do, and that's a testament to their training and to their desire. Like I know Donnie, um, he wrestles for IWA like every week for a while there, and IWA Mid South is one of those places you can go to kind of get polished because they're in a sense they're kind of going to throw you to the wolves if they get a
Mhm.
chance. Like there's just going to be like, all right, we're just going to throw you out there with some really talented experienced guys and see if you can swim.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows when I went at that match for me personally, it kind of showed that like, all right, he's doing okay, he's going to be all right. So I really enjoyed that one um, as well. I know that one's on YouTube as well, I think. So
Yeah, I kind of saw after I don't know if they meant anything, but kind of after the match when you beat him, you're outside the ring, kind of gave him that look. You're like looking up in the ring, kind of like because you guys went through a battle, man. Like he took some crazy bump. That bump he took on the apron, I was like, holy shit! Like that bump on the apron was like no joke, man. Like that shit was like look violent. But after the match, you kind of sometimes. I like when wrestlers are done with matches, if they don't want to like break character, where they kind of want to show respect, you kind of like, just kind of look back, it's kind of like, in the ring, kind of like, knowing that you just did something good, like you did something good, and that's kind of what I felt when I saw with you two. Like I kind of remember you like kind of like glancing back to the ring a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know if it really meant anything, but that's kind of what I thought of. Like, oh man, he's probably like showing him like like you did good tonight. You know what I mean? Like we just fucking tore it down. So
Yeah, like, and that's I think you're right there. Like, it's not always like that, but for that night it was like, I I came into it wanting to have like a really good competitive solid match, and he brought his part of it, and I felt like it came off really really well, and I was proud of that match. So, I mean, I may have broke my nose. I actually think I did break
Yeah,
my
you
nose
did
that
break your
match.
nose. Yeah, afterwards, I remember. Yeah,
Like, I think it was like, I think I counted, it was like the seventh or eighth time I've broken it, and it's actually like starting to show now. Like,
really?
I
Oh
got
man,
lucky all the other times, but now it's starting to like, yeah, now it's starting to be like,
a
maybe
little
not too
crooked.
many shots to the nose anymore.
'Cause I
It's not.
remember.
It's like, it's starting to protrude a little bit, like right there, but it's not too bad yet. Thankfully, hasn't messed up my profile, so we're okay.
Man, hopefully, it doesn't get too extreme. One thing I want to ask. So, when me and Savian was talking about it, and he was, I don't think he's ever asked it, but he was like, how does this motherfucker wrestle in a suit? Like, how does he wrestle with that tight suit on and that tie, man? He didn't understand it. We were watching the match. He was like, I don't understand how he wrestles in that. Like, I'll never understand it. How do you wrestle in that? Like, is it comfortable? Like,
It's like, it's weird, man. Like, because I went from short trunk tights for a long time, and I wore those for a really really long time, and then eventually I changed my character up and started to adapt what I'm doing now, and I always wanted to do it. I always just wanted to see
you
if
see
I
what it was
could
like? Yeah.
wrestle and all that stuff. And um, I did it a couple times. I'm like, all right, well, it's hot, but it's not impossible. It like now it's a little easier because I actually have like tights, but for the longest time it was just like I would wear like pants, like, so like actual like just average everyday pants,
Yeah.
and that was tougher. Now it's a little bit easier, but it's it's unique. I think a couple of maybe about a month before that show that we met on, um, I was wrestling at a show in Southern Indiana, I think, and I was wrestling a guy, and I was getting ready to go out, and I like stretched, and the back of my shirt just ripped completely.
Oh,
Crap. Like, what do I do now? So like, it takes a lot to keep together, and I like, lose clothes as I go, and I've lost multiple ties, and I've lost multiple shirts and everything, but I like the way it looks, and I kind of feel like it's such a look that it like kind of commands attention. Like, as soon as I come out of the curtain and I start doing my thing, people are immediately like, "Why is this dude wearing a shirt? Is he gonna wrestle in that shirt? Is he gonna
Yeah,
keep
because
that tie on?"
that's
Like,
the first thing that popped in my head. It was like, obviously when you came out, you're assuming that you're gonna take it off. Like, you're just assuming that, oh, he's gonna take off the shirt because that's what people usually do. But like, then you started wrestling. I'm like, was he wrestling with the tie and a dress shirt on? Like, that's, and it's like, that can't be like comfortable. It's so tight. But like, I'm sure once you get in there, you kind of forget it's even on sometimes. You know what I mean? You just they're going with the flow.
yeah, except for the heat, yeah, like it
You
is
know,
very very hot,
like,
but yeah, once I get going, it's kind of just like a passing thing, and a lot of people are like, "Dude, it's kind of it's they look at me, they're like, it's kind of impressive that you're able to do all the stuff that you do and
mm,
still have all that on." Like, I'm like, well, it's cool. I mean, I guess it's cool looking for the most part. Like, I think the most unfortunate part of it though is I have white gear as well. I can't remember what I wore there. I think I wore the leopard stuff there, but I have white gear that's like white, and then I got a white tie, and I wear my regular black shirt. I did a show for ICW in Michigan, and I get there, and it was just a pit match, which is just basically, it doesn't have a ring; it's just somewhere.
yeah, it's like
And
I remember seeing that on YouTube. The pit, like you just fighting like in the like dirt and shit like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
like if anybody's familiar with a movie called Lionheart, it's very much like that. Um,
We
but
watched the match on
I
YouTube.
get there.
We watched that on YouTube. It was
Uh,
I can't remember who it was against, but it was a pit. Like, it was basically like people were surrounded in this pit, and you guys just had dirt. and you just
Yeah.
like you're just fighting in the dirt,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Like, so I only had my white gear that day. So I get there and I look at it and I'm like, I'm gonna jack up my gear. Like it's my poor white gear, man. Like I put that stuff through so much. Like when I wrestled Gary J for ICW, I wore my white gear for that too. And as soon as I busted my head and I guess lost all consciousness, I looked at the cameraman and he told me later, he was like, the first thing out of your mouth was, I'm gonna ruin my gear. Because I was just bleeding everywhere and like I had my white gear on. So my white
You
gear's
don't
been
remember saying
through.
that?
No, I don't
Yeah,
remember at all.
yeah. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So when you
Yeah.
got into the business, I want to ask you this: when you got into the business, what were some things that surprised you about wrestling? Maybe some things that I think some people may expect certain things, but when you get into it, what were some things that surprised you? Like, oh wow,
Oh shoot, man, that's a good question, man. I think the biggest shocker to me um, was like I had this idea, and it was kind of like supported to some extent by the police, the people who first brought me in. I don't know if they supported it or they just let me think it.
right?
Um, but I had this vision in my head that all you had to do to get paid well to be a wrestler was be a good wrestler. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had this vision in my mind uh, that like the guy who got the paid the most on every show was the guy who had the best match, like the most crowd interactive match or whatever. That's
Right.
not that's not true at all. Because if it was, things would be much more different for my bank account.
Yeah.
But so that was like another one, probably the biggest one. Another one was um, it's kind of like weird because I didn't realize, and I probably should have, just because locker rooms, martial arts, stuff like that, how much of a camaraderie there was between people on one end, and then how much of a complete like disdain for each other there was on another end. Like it's weird. Wrestling, I mean, I guess like everything is, but wrestling is like one of those weird things where you got to work together, but then you also have to compete at the same time. Like you got to be cool, but you also have to step on people. It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, you have to.
Um, and those are
You
probably
have
the
to.
two biggest things that surprised me.
I think I can't remember who it was. It was a popular wrestler, but he said, wrestling, you have to be selfish and unselfish at the same time. You know what I mean? Like you have to know how to do both. You have to know how to protect yourself and your career, but you also have to help make other people in the process. You know what I mean? You help their careers as well. So I think that's what makes the art of wrestling so kind of beautiful though. Like obviously there have been a lot of toxic wrestlers who come into the company and maybe overstep their boundaries like that. But at the end of the day, those guys in their minds are looking out for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm looking out for me. I gotta look out for my career and my paycheck and my well being. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
also, you also got to look at, like I said, you also got to help make other people because that's how the superstars continue to evolve by
Hmm.
superstars being created, but those superstars helping create other people in the process.
Yeah, like, and that's absolutely right. And some people are it's a tricky game to some extent, but uh, it's shoot, man. Like I think there's a lot of things that I would have loved to have been taught that I wasn't. Um, like early coming in, like I would have loved to have been taught like this is how you negotiate money. This is how you negotiate transportation. This is how you do this, or this is how you do that. That I really didn't. That I really didn't get. Almost like in a sense, they say that if kids were taught finance in high school, it would be a different world. Like because we'd all
Yeah.
know how to work money and how to use money and everything like that. The wrestling business is the same way. It's like you eventually figure out things that you would have loved to learn like earlier, but you didn't get a chance to. So then you're just kind of like stuck trying to mold stuff together. Um, but yeah, man, like there's a lot of things that I would have loved to learn earlier, and there's really a lot of things that surprised me too. Like it really did surprise me, which I don't think it's really the case that much anymore. But when I broke in, it was kind of a little bit of a case. Like I got into wrestling because I loved wrestling and I wanted to be a wrestler. Not everybody got into wrestling for that reason. Like some people, like when I got in, I like would set myself goals and I'd be like, all right, I want to wrestle here, I want to get here, I want to get here, and these are my goals. Well, a lot of guys they would get into it with goals and then they would get sidetracked to to do other things and get more involved in other things about the sides of the business as opposed to like having tunnel vision and having like goal oriented stuff. You get like kind of pulled to the side by this, that, or whatever. And that always kind of surprised me for some reason. Um, Gosh, man, you're asking me some pretty good questions that I wish I would have like had a little bit of better answers for. But,
No, that's a good answer. I mean, you talk about that. I mean, I think Brock Lesnar is a perfect example of that. He was never a wrestling fan growing up. He obviously got into the business and became very successful, but I think he's been known as the guy who's just strictly the money man, the business guy. You know what I mean? Like he's all about his paycheck, and not saying that he doesn't love wrestling or the business, because it's been shown that whatever he doesn't want to do, he's not going to do. You know what I mean? Like if he doesn't want to wrestle, he's not going to wrestle. So he obviously loves it to an extent, but it's not his obsession. Like somebody like John Cena, who was dedicated to wrestling for years. You know what I mean? Like somebody like the Undertaker, who dedicated his life
mm-hmm,
to the business for years. Brock's not like that, but it doesn't mean he still doesn't love it. He's just more. Sees it more of as a business. You know what I'm saying? It's more of a business to him. It's a job,
mm-hmm.
paid, do what you
And
got to do. That's it.
yeah, and honestly, I think I really do think, at least on the independent level, I think wrestling would be like on the inside, not like just wrestling in general, but like, behind the curtains and stuff. Wrestling would be better if more guys kind of thought like Brock in a sense, like thought like, okay, this is my job. I'm paid to do this job. So therefore I will do this job as opposed to like other things. Like I said, people get distracted. They do things that like, cause I mean, maybe it's just, like maybe the way my dad brought me up or whatever. I don't know. But I've always had this mentality that if I get paid for something, then that's my job and I will treat it as a job. Therefore, like I'm not gonna go um to my average everyday job that I do. I'm not gonna go there and I'm not gonna get like plastered and then go and do my job because I know I would get fired. Like that's apparently not really a mentality that a lot of wrestlers have. You don't go and do that kind of stuff because then you'll lose your job. Or at least you should. But weird tangent. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. So this is a random question though. I'm curious because you're from Cincinnati, so this is very important. Between the two, Gold Star or Skyline, which
Oh
Gold Star guy or Skyline guy?
man. Well, I do want to say I enjoy both, and I will eat either.
Same.
I do not discriminate, but I will say that I probably, if I have to choose, I will choose Gold Star most times over Skyline. Doesn't mean I don't like them
Smart man.
both,
Smart man.
but
Smart man.
that's just where I like my Cincinnati's most want. Like I have a group of guys where Cincinnati's most wanted, which is Lord Crew and Lexus Montez. Lexus is a big Skyline guy. I don't know how Crew feels. He may be kind of more where I'm at, or he may be more where Lexus is at. But that's like kind of our only divide is is uh,
Skyline. Hey,
is
it's
which one we like more.
one of the other. That's how it is. That's how it is where we're from. One of the other. Honestly, preferably, I don't know how you feel, but I think Dixie Chili's the best. I like Dixie Chili more than Gold Star and Skyline. That's just me though.
I haven't had Dixie chili in a long time. I also hear I've had Price Hill chili one time. I don't
That's
know if
good.
you've had that,
Yeah, that's
but
that's pretty
that's
good.
good.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
that's pretty good.
But now I'm gonna have to seek me out a Dixie and find one of those so I can like.
Man, Dixie's not too far from where I live at. Honestly, it's become my favorite. I'm more of a Gold Star person myself. Like I'll eat Skyline. I don't like. I'm not gonna be like I'm not going to Skyline. You know what I mean? Like I'll eat it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll eat Skyline. But like if I had to pick, like if somebody was like, "Hey, you want to go to Gold Star or Skyline?" I'm like, "We pulling up the Gold Star." You know, that's what I'd probably say.
Yeah, that's pretty much what that and man, like I every Sunday that I'm home, there's a Gold Star and a Skyline probably about the same amount of time away from me. Like one's over here and one's over there. But I'll put my pup in my car and we'll go to the Gold Star, and they always feed him. So they they know him by name by now. Like they get like super hype when he gets there, and so like yeah, I don't think if I took him to Skyline, they would treat him the same. Not that they would treat him bad, but I
Yeah,
think you know
I'm kind of like the
yeah
same way too. I mean, I usually kind of get the same meal. Like I usually get either like cheese conies or a three-way. That's usually what I get. Like I'm more of like that's pretty much all I get. Like when I work, because working at the airport, they got Gold Star in the airport. So like when I go there, the people know who I am. So like you want the usual, you want the three-way and the cheese conies. Like,
yeah
yeah, that's usual. So that's usually kind of what I get. I'm not really
yeah.
like Skyline is cool, but it's always I always thought it was weird how you talk about Cincinnati chili, people will say Skyline, but they have a Gold Star in the Cincinnati airport, no Skyline. That doesn't make any sense. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I always thought that was so weird. Like
That's yeah, that's pretty weird.
they never
I
talk
mean,
about.
I'm curious of why. Yeah, I'm very curious why. Like, because like Skyline is usually talked about way more than Gold Star is,
Yeah,
and I'm not really sure why. I mean, I
it's
guess some people would say because it's better, but I don't. I really
yeah.
don't think it is. I think they both have good qualities. Like they're just different. You know,
You a
kind of
you
like
a
how wrestling is. You know.
you a Frisch's man too. You like Frisch's?
I dabble in a Frisch's. I do. Like I actually just went there. Like I know it's what is it like 3 days till Christmas, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I went Christmas shopping with my dad yesterday, and we had Frisch's afterwards. So yeah, I do the
They don't have
Frisch's.
that everywhere. They don't have that everywhere too. Like Frisch's and Gold Star. Like there's certain places they don't have. You know what I mean? Like one of my friends who lives in Baltimore. When I go out and see him, he always asks me for Grippos. The bag of Grippos because they don't sell them everywhere. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
when I first went down
yeah.
there, to see him, I was telling him about the Grippos. He was like, "Man, these better be as good as you talk about." I'm like, "Just wait, you'll see what I'm talking about." And every time I go down there now, he's like, "Man, you bring the Grippos, right? You got the Grippos." Like, don't worry, I got you with the Grippos, man. They're on deck.
Yeah, we got some pretty good stuff. Like I got I'm
The
a
Geta
huge
too.
Bob's Burgers fan. What's
Oh,
that?
Bob, the Geta. Not everybody knows what Geta is either. Geta, like it's only
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. But I'm a huge Bob's Burgers fan, and for Christmas, I think one year, or maybe my birthday or something, somebody found a Bob's Burgers shirt where he's Big Boy. So it's Big Boy Bob's Burgers, and
oh
I
really?
love that shirt. Like yeah, I love that thing. Um, but yeah, like shoot, I don't think there's a lot of UDFs anywhere else.
Yeah, UDF's
So
my
we got
favorite.
that.
Graders too. I don't know if Graders is local either. Like Graders ice cream. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, graders too. I love
Yeah.
ice cream, man. Love ice cream. So uh,
What's
it
your favorite
is.
ice
It is. Gosh, if I'm going to UDF, it's probably like uh, maybe that peanut butter cookies and cream they got.
cream? Yeah.
Love that bad boy. That's a good
You
one.
know, what Graders put
Um,
me on to? My
I've
favorite ice cream. My favorite ice cream used to be chocolate chip cookie dough for a long period of time.
yeah.
But then when I went to Graders, they had the black raspberry chip. Oh, after that, that moved up to my number one spot, man. Because I'm a shake guy. Like when I go to ice cream places, I don't get like scoops of ice cream. I get like a shake. Like I like the shakes. So
Yeah.
when I got the shake for the first time, I never tried it, and then oh man, that black raspberry chip, that's life changing right there. I'll say that. That
All
changed
right,
my life.
man. Well, I'm gonna try it now because you're putting it over. So I'm gonna find
Oh,
it.
you never
I'm
had
gonna
it?
try it.
Oh man, black
I've never
raspberry.
had that one.
They
Have
sell it at
you
UDF.
have you had that Jenny's ice cream?
I have not. I have not had
They
that.
they sell it like I think they sell it at maybe they sell it at Jungle Gyms definitely, and a few other places. Maybe they sell it at Kroger or something. But I'm pretty sure it's like a Cincinnati
Yeah.
business as well. And brother, I mean, it's expensive though. It's like $7 a quart. It's ridiculous, but
Woo!
it's so good. Like I like kept seeing it. I'd go to Jungles and I'd see it. And it's just like that $7 is like staring me in the eye. I'm like, oh, it looks good, but I can't spend $7 on a quart of ice cream. And then
Do it
one
one
day I
time
was
to
just like,
see.
you know what?
Yeah.
Screw
Yeah.
it. I'm treating myself, doing it. and I did it. It was so good, worth every penny. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
this is
never
gonna be
had.
bad for my bank account.
So you said Jenny's. Next time I go grocery shopping, I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna look for it. Jenny's ice
All
cream.
right,
I'm gonna look for it. But the black
you won't be
raspberry chip,
disappointed. And if you,
they sell that at UDF though. The black raspberry chip, they have it at UDF too. I've seen it there. So they have it at
all
UDF.
right,
So
well, I'll check it out. All right, but if you don't like Jenny's, let me know. I will give you $7
no, I ain't tripping on the $7. I mean,
because I think it's good, and I think
I'm like that. I'm like that too with certain things. Like like sometimes, because I remember I can't remember what it was. Like I'm big into hot pockets. I love hot pockets, right? But like they're always so expensive to me. Like every time
oh,
I
all
go
right,
there, they're never on sale. I'm like, God, these are never on sale. Like why are they never on sale? And one time I went and they were on sale. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting it. I want some hot pockets, and they're never on sale, so they're probably never going to be on sale. That's what it tells me. So I'm just going to get them. Like I'm just going to go ahead and just get it and just to get over with. So Jenny's ice cream. I will. I will definitely check that out. Somebody in the chat before I get to the next question said, "Are we fans of La Rosa's?" For me, it's all right. It's not too bad.
I mean, I'm pretty okay with roses. I haven't had it in a while, but I do. Like along with ice cream. Ice cream is a vice. Pizza is a vice as well. Like if
Yeah.
like I honestly think I would probably eat pizza like 5 out of 10 out of 7 days out of the week or whatever if I could get away with it, but I can't.
Well, you love
But
pizza
yeah,
that much.
I don't mind the roses.
I would say, Pizza Hut's my favorite. Pizza Hut's probably my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, pizza. I'm more of a pizza. I don't know why, but something about Pizza Hut pizza. I just really like their pizza. I'm not gonna lie. I like the way
I
they
mean,
put
I
the cheese on.
remember when I was a kid, there's like little bitty personal pan pizzas that were like delicacies. They'd bring it out in like the piping hot thing.
Yeah.
Those were great. I don't even know if there's like, I mean, in my general region, I'm not sure if there's like a freestanding Pizza Hut. We might have one of those like delivery ones, but I
Yeah,
don't think we have like a freestanding
there's
one anymore.
there's so many pizza places. Like there's Pizza Hut, Jet's Pizza, Blaze Pizza, um, Donato's, Domino's. Um, God, the one place down the street's not there anymore. That they got rid of. I can't remember what the name of it was though. But there's so many. Little Caesars too. Like there's a lot of pizza places out there too, man.
There's
So
a we got a we got a rapid fire down the road that I go to on a pretty regular basis. And that's pretty
okay.
good. It's like the Subway of pizza places. And we used to
See,
have like a mod pizza, which those are pretty good.
okay,
Um,
yeah. See, the way you feel about
there's a
pizza,
Dewey's
that's how I
pretty
feel
close to
about
me as well.
Dewey's. Is pretty good too. Dude, one of my friends works there. I got a friend who works there. He's like the manager at Dewey's, not too far from it. The way you feel about pizza, though, see, I don't know if that's your favorite food, but that's how I feel about mac and cheese. Like mac and cheese to me is like I can eat that like 5 days out of the
Really?
week. Yeah, if I really wanted to, like I can eat that nonstop.
Shoot,
Like
man. Like I like some mac and cheese too, but like my mother's mac and cheese, man. She makes a mac and cheese that, good Lord, like if that's in front of me, there's a good chance I'm gonna eat. Like she puts it in like this big old dish, and
yeah.
like it's like I'll eat the whole thing if I could get away with it.
Anytime mac and cheese is being cooked, I think I never met anybody who anytime I've ever asked anybody who makes the best mac and cheese, they always said their mom. It's always the number one answer. I've never heard anybody else say anybody else besides their mom. So people ask
That's the
me who
way it
makes the
should
mac
be.
and cheese, I'm just like my
That's
mom, my mom. So I'm like nobody else makes it better. So
Yep.
um, let's see. So before we get into some other questions here, what are some of the goals that you have in wrestling that maybe you have on your bucket list that you haven't accomplished that you still would like to accomplish maybe before your career is over?
Well, I think for anybody who pursues wrestling, they want to be on TV at some point. I'd
Yeah.
love to be on TV. Really doesn't matter with what company. I would just love to do it, just so I can be like, yeah, I was on TV for a while. That'd be cool. I think I told you before. I don't know if I told you like while we were talking about this or before. But one of my goals is to see what Ring of Honor is doing. Obviously,
Yeah, we talked
whenever
about that. Yeah.
they figure out what that is. But I'd love to wrestle for Ring of Honor. I would love to go to Britain and Japan before. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how much time I have left in my career, but those are
How much
some
time do you feel
definitely
like you
some
have left?
goals that I have. My body's still pretty okay. It's still going pretty well. Usually, I say it's. I was telling somebody earlier this month actually. I was like, well, usually when people find out how long I've been working, they're still like, wow, you can still go really well. Like I would have never guessed that you've been wrestling as long as you had.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear
Yeah,
that.
yeah. What are some
Like
yeah,
as long
you've
as I
had
can do it, and still go, then I'm gonna still do it, I guess.
how many have you had some really bad injuries throughout your career? You said your body still go okay, so have you had some pretty injuries that some pretty bad ones?
Yeah. Well, I for a long time I thought I was indestructible, and then I was doing a moonsault and hit a guy when he was like kind of up or whatever, and it popped my knee out. So I tore my ACL and I had to get ACL surgery.
Yeah, I kind of
I
figured
nursed
that
that for a while.
when I seen you backstage when we were in the locker room talking. I saw the scar on your knee. You could see the scar right
Yeah,
there on your
yeah,
knee. So I figured you tore something. I didn't know what it was, but he probably had surgery on something.
yeah. I had ACL surgery, and then I nursed it for probably about like a year and a half. And then oddly, like the first time that I was like, all right, this brace is driving me crazy, so I'm going to take it off. And I did. I did a match. I did everything that I would normally do in a match. And then at the very end of the match, I got boosted out, or I boosted myself out onto the apron from inside the ring. And as soon as my foot hit, my knee went out again. And then I had to go and get checked out again. And I retore my ACL, not all the way though, but just a partial tear through it.
Damn.
And then I tore both meniscus in the same knee. So, um, so it's all jacked up now. But obviously it doesn't bother me that much. I just got to wear the big heavy duty brace all the time.
Yeah.
And I've had like, other injuries that I have yet to get like looked at or anything like that. I don't know if it's because of fear or because of our healthcare system or whatever that I haven't yet. But yeah, but right now, I mean, my body feels good. I still feel like I can go, and um, I mean, I guess really, I see no slowing down as long as I can still uh, get the bookings that I want and still put forth the effort that I think that wrestling deserves from me. Then I'll keep doing it. But
Uh,
yeah, so yeah, my goals are mainly just to, you know, keep kicking,
is there
I guess.
is there a before I get to the next question, as far as goals, people you want to work with, who are some people that you haven't worked with that you really would love to wrestle before the time's over
Ooh,
with? I'm sure there's a lot, but if
that's a really good question.
there's people you had to narrow down in your head, maybe you can give like five on the top of your head that you're like, I would definitely work if you got the call, you would leave tomorrow.
Mm, okay. All right. Like so anyway, I want to wrestle Chris Hero. I would like to wrestle Christopher Daniels as well.
He's still
Um,
going too. He's like 51. He's still going too. Pretty good.
yeah, he's still going.
Yeah.
He actually just won the Defy, I think, championship over the weekend.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. I've wrestled Riddle. That was one. Tom Lawler. I'd like to wrestle Tom Lawler. I'd like to wrestle Davey Richards. Um, I'm trying not to think like too big because there's obviously other people that I would love to wrestle, like Styles and guys like that.
Yeah, it could be anybody, man.
Um,
It could be anybody.
I
I
try to
would love to
stay
see
like
you. I'd love to see you have a match with somebody like Will Ospreay. I think you guys would have a fucking phenomenal match. You and Will Ospreay.
oh yeah, that'd be like I love wrestling like guys that are like, for lack of a better phrase, like flippy, like aerial
Yeah,
guys. Like
yeah.
I love wrestling aerial guys.
Will Ospreay, Seth
So yeah,
Rollins.
Osprey would be great.
Seth Rollins would be a good
I
opponent
mean,
for
I'm
you too.
not. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be a good one. Um, Shoot, dude. Like, I don't know how familiar you're probably very familiar with Jay White. I love Jay White. I'd love to go see
Switchblade.
Jay
Oh,
White.
he's one of my favorites in New Japan. Yeah, for sure. Switchblade,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, dude, I
Yeah,
love Switchblade, man.
he's one of my.
Big fan.
Yeah, he's
I
one of
know
my.
I went over 5,
Hey, he's
but
plenty, man. Honestly, I would if there's any promotion I'd like to see you go to, I think New Japan would be an amazing fit for you. So many because there's so many people like Okada, Naito, Tanahashi, Minoru Suzuki, Hiroki Goto. Like, there's so many people down there that you could just have so many good matches with. Like, because with New Japan, it doesn't really matter how big you are. There's small people who can be the champion, big people can be the champion. It's. I feel like New Japan can fit for anybody. You know what I mean? So I feel like New Japan, you
I
can
agree.
learn a lot and just be so many people you could work with. Hiromu Takahashi, one of my favorites down there too. You guys would have an amazing match. Oh God, so many people, so much talent down there. Switchblade,
Oh yeah,
another one.
dude. Shoot, man. I absolutely agree with you. It's funny because like most of the like because I've got to work with a lot of like really good independent wrestlers and stuff
Mhm.
like that, but I've also got to work with like some legends as well. I've worked with like Also and like Ken Anderson and guys of that nature. And a lot of them always like say like, dude, if you went to Japan one time, you'd be set. Like,
Dude,
because apparently like in
yeah.
their mind, it's like they just like you would just fit so good there. And I'm like, you're probably right. If I could only just get over there, but
Yeah,
you
man.
know,
It's I think you would fit really well in Japan, man. Japan would be like a really good thing for you, man. Because there's so many things like even wrestling somebody like Zack Sabre Jr., who has a different style. He's more of a technical guy, but like
hmm
you guys could
oh
just put on.
gosh, he's so good, man.
Yeah, there's so many things you guys could put on together that would make a really good match together. You know what I mean? So like, and I feel like anything New Japan does, people are over whether you're in a tag team or you're in a singles. Like, everything. If people watch New Japan, they pretty much like anything that goes on. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just feel like you
hmm
would be so good over there, man. It'd be so good. I mean, it would take dedication because you'd be flying out of the country a lot, to different country and everything. But it's like, chasing the dream, man. It would help, look at guys like Finn Balor. Finn Balor was over there for like 8 years before he came,
Yeah,
to be 8
yeah,
years is a long time from traveling from where he lived in. I'm pretty sure he lived in Ireland at the time. So traveling from Ireland to
yeah. He
Japan.
was,
Somebody like Kenny Omega was there for a long period of time too, man. Traveling from Japan to
yeah,
he was over there so long he speaks Japanese fluently. You know what I mean? So it's like
yeah.
he's
I think he didn't he live over there too? Didn't he
yeah,
just like
he lived
move
over there
there
for
for
a
a
period of
while?
time, yeah. So it takes dedication, but it's like, it's some of the best wrestlers in the world. You know what I mean? Like, you're wrestling some of the best people on the planet. That's what we talk about too. Like, just because some people are in WWE doesn't mean they're the best. Like, Okada is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now on the planet. But he's not in the WWE
Shoot,
though.
Shingo too, man.
Yeah, some of the best in the
Gosh,
world right now.
I think Shingo's like, buddy,
You look at even
like I don't
somebody
know if you like how
good.
sorry, like I'm not sure how familiar you are with Noah, but like they
Mm-hmm.
got a guy there named Nakajima who
Nakajima.
is just just so good. Like they're doing that New Japan versus Noah show. I think it's either it's
It's for Wrestle
before
Kingdom.
Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah, yeah. And
Wrestle
dude, like
Kingdom's
I'm
it's 3 night. It's a 3 night event this year, so it's Wrestle
yeah,
Kingdom.
that's right. That's
Yeah,
right. But I'm really stoked for that because that's gonna be fire. I think it'll because I don't think everybody is familiar with Noah,
yeah.
and like I'm a big fan of like Muda and like
Remover.
the careers of Kenta Kobashi and Masawa and stuff like that, and they like kind of brought Noah up, so I'm pretty familiar with Noah, and I'm really excited that apparently like a lot of the people who watch New Japan who aren't really familiar with Noah, they're gonna get to see these guys and be like, oh wow, okay, there's a whole nother page of Japanese wrestling that I didn't
Wrestling.
even realize existed,
And what makes it
But
good is that
but yeah,
it's 3
Japan,
nights. So it's a 3 night event that can expand out. So you get to see different people from different nights and everything. It's gonna make it really good to watch. You know what I mean? So I'll definitely, I'm into that stuff too. So that's why I tell people, you gotta check other things out. Some people may not even know that Hiroshi Tanahashi is a wrestling legend. But he's never been big in the States, but he's a wrestling legend. Like, some people look up to that guy or inspired to be like him. You know what I mean? So like, I think Kenny Omega was like one of his greatest things was like, man, I got to wrestle Tanahashi. Like that was like a highlight for me. You know what I mean? So like, cause Tanahashi, he's like, I always kind of explain like Tanahashi's kind of like the John Cena of New Japan. Like he's like the guy. Like he's the babyface guy.
That's pretty dang good comparison right there. Yeah, like since Muda's still wrestling, like that would be the ultimate dream match for me. Like to get to wrestle Keiji Muda, that would be like
Somebody said in
that'd be like one of those matches where I think like I'd have it and I'd be like, all right, well I'm done now. There's nothing else I could do.
somebody in the comments said they would like to see you and Kenta, who was Hideo Itami.
Oh,
in NXT.
yeah.
Yeah. Kenta
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would that would be dope too. Like his ROH stuff was incredible, man. Like that dude's a beast.
So what about some of the best advice that you've gotten in the business? Is there somebody that maybe a veteran or somebody that, you know, took you under your wing or gave you some good advice throughout your career that maybe, you know, you were going a different direction and he's like, man, you know, you should do this and do that, or some of the best advice you've gotten from anybody?
I've gotten a lot of good advice over the years. There's a couple that really stick out, and I'll share those. But I've been very fortunate and very blessed to be able to like sit down and talk and be within earshot of like some incredible wrestling minds. Like it's kind of staggering sometimes to think about, like because you know I have been wrestling a long time and I haven't gotten the opportunities that other people have, or I haven't been at the right place with the right time and everything like that. And sometimes it gets kind of discouraging. But then when I step back and I kind of look at it and I look at the grand scheme of things, all the stuff that I've got to do has been like so cool. And there's so many people that would like love to sit in the seats that I've sat in, or, you know, put on my kick pads and just experience some of the stuff that I've got to. But I think I was telling you earlier about the Ring of Honor tryout I did, where a gentleman took me to the side and told me that you're so good at so much stuff, but find you. Like you got to find what you're best at. That guy was Brutal Bob Evans, who he used to manage Mike Bennett back in Mike Bennett's ROH early days. That was probably some of the best advice I could have gotten, because I realized that, like, yeah, it's great to be able to do, you know, a running, you know, Hurricane Rana or Shooting Star Press, or maybe a 450 Phoenix Splash like Neville or something.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not me, then what's the point of doing it? Like, you got to find who you are, not just in wrestling, but in life in general. Like, you got to be comfortable with yourself and who you are as a person and as a performer. And if you can find that out, then it's going to make your life better. And as a wrestler, it's going to make everything you do better, because you don't necessarily have to focus so much on, what am I going to do? Wait, are they going to like this? Is this the right thing? I don't know, because you just know, like, you know, because you're being true to yourself. And that was probably one of the best things I heard. Another thing that another veteran told me was Al Snow. I was pretty close to Al for a little bit, and I remember, I think it might have been CZW. I think I was doing some stuff with CZW at the time, and I didn't really feel like they were trying to do anything with me, and it was kind of discouraging me and everything like that. And I talked to him about it, and he said, Aaron, you know, there's lots of wrestling out there, right? It's like, just because promotion doesn't want to use you right, it doesn't mean that promotion B won't. That was like a huge eye opener to me. Like for some reason, just hearing that, it kind of made me realize that, oh yeah, okay, so just because, you know, this person or this promoter doesn't get behind me doesn't mean that there isn't a dozen other promoters that would love everything I do. And so those were like two huge pieces of advice that I like kind of put in the back of my head to like always pull on to get me, you know, just to get me through everyday life.
I think that was part of the main reason AEW was created too. You know, not everybody's going to succeed in the WWE. You know what I mean? Not everybody's going to have a successful career there because they may just not see something in you that maybe the fans see in you. So, you know, you can go somewhere else with it in a bigger platform and showcase what you can really do. You know what I mean? Like some people don't like Cody Rhodes, but Cody Rhodes, I think, is one of the best, man. I think Cody Rhodes is really good. Promo skills are good. In-ring skills are really good. I feel like he's very underappreciated. Some people don't like him, but I'm like, Cody Rhodes has been good. He just wasn't being pushed as one of their top guys in WWE because they just didn't see him as that. You know what I mean? So somebody good like Malachi Black, and Miro. Like Miro to me was like, I thought Miro was gonna be that world champion. I'm like, this guy is gonna be the world champion one day. Like he's got great size, great look, and
I was right there with you, man.
This guy is gonna be a world champion. They didn't see it. Another guy to me that I still to this day will never understand, but Braun Strowman was somebody else. Looking at Braun Strowman, I'm like, this guy is money. Like this guy has dollar signs all over him. Size, strength, athleticism. Like this guy to me was like gonna be. I thought he could have been like a legendary Hall of Fame WWE big man, and his booking skills is they just didn't book him the way that to me that he could have been to that level. You know what I mean? So it's like it's unfortunate, but like he was somebody that was big, but maybe somebody that the company really saw something in. You look at somebody like Roman. I guarantee the first time Vince saw Roman, he probably knew that Roman was going to be in that position where he wanted him to be. Like, I think they have a vision of the people that they, what I mean? Like, there's certain people that have certain looks, there's certain backgrounds that we want, you know what I mean? And Roman Reigns is really good, so he wasn't wrong. You know what I'm saying? He's good at what he does, but it's like some people just may not make it to that level. You know what I mean? So there's other places to go out there where you can still make it and make a good living. And that's also what I think is important about wrestling today too, is that you don't have to go to the WWE to make a good living. You can go somewhere else and make a good living off wrestling and still be a wrestler. You know what I mean? So.
Yep. You're absolutely right. But
and it's cool that you said
those.
I like the advice that you said earlier too about find something that gravitates to you or find something that your identity has. You know what I mean? We talked about off the air about how I thought John Cena never needed a heel turn because the mixed reactions that he got throughout his career, that was his identity. That was his thing, And when they tried to do it with Roman, it wasn't working because people already saw that and they knew what that was. That's John Cena's thing, you know what I mean? So I think if you have that as your own identity and your own thing, nobody can steal it, I remember one of my favorite interviews with The Undertaker was he was talking about when he got the character, he didn't know what this guy was or what this character was, but over time he figured out that, he had to stop doing certain things in the ring that he was able to do, but couldn't do because that's not what the character of The Undertaker would do. You know what I mean? So like The Undertaker is very mysterious. He walks slow to the ring. He's very unique and stylish because Undertaker was very athletic back in his days, walking on the top rope. He did a lot of things back then for a big guy, but when he became The Undertaker, he stopped doing those things just because that's not what the character of The Undertaker would do. And to me, that makes so much sense. You know what I mean? Like you're getting into the character and you're getting to what the mind of this guy would do, and that's not something that guy would do. You know what I mean? So it's very unique to see how people's stories come like that with character work. You look at the same with Andre the Giant, and you see a bunch of stuff with his, like he was the true giant. Like some people may not know, but when Andre first got into it, he could do like certain things in the ring, but as he got bigger, he stopped doing them just because that's not what the giant would do. I'm saying he's a giant, so now he's just going to be a big dominant giant and just do giant things, slam people and dominate people through matches. Big Show same way too. Some people may forget, but I've seen Big Show do like drop kicks in the ring and all types of crazy stuff. But it's not what giants are supposed to do. Like they're supposed to be giants for a reason. You know what I mean? So if you remember too, Brock Lesnar was the same way too. I remember he was able to do a shooting star press from the top rope, which is fucking crazy for his size. You know what I mean? But like, I know he messed up in that WrestleMania when he almost broke his neck. But like, if you go back and watch some of his clips from OVW, he could do a full shooting star press like clean from the top rope, like with ease.
Yeah.
But somebody for his size, they probably told him to stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to do that to get over the way you need to do it. You can just be the beast, which he is now. You know what I mean? So, before we get off here, which will be too much longer, but I always do a thing with people who are my guests. I just do a random thing. It's called Top Fives. I'll ask you 5 random questions of your top 5 things. If you can think of it, just answer it. If you don't know the answer to it, you don't got to answer it. It'll just be any random thing that I just came up with. So, if you have one, who are your top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time? It's your personal favorites. It could be anybody that you just love in your top 5.
All right. Well, this does change pretty frequently, but I'll try to stick to like the core guys, which is probably like Shawn Michaels, Rob Van Dam, the Great Muta. I think Jericho's sneaking in there, and probably William Regal, actually.
William Regal,
or
very very underrated.
Yeah, like the fifth one always changes. Like it just depends on what kind of like mood I'm in. Like if I'm in like a hardcore mood, it might be somebody. It might be Jerry Lynn. Actually, see, like I'm already changing it. Like 'cause I love Jerry Lynn. So yeah, but those, we're just gonna go with that. Those 5. Technically 6, but we're gonna go with that.
I'll answer one with you. That way people can kind of get to know us better. Obviously, number 1 for me is John Cena. Always been my number 1. The Undertaker is my number 2. 3 is Eddie Guerrero. 4 would be The Rock, and 5 would be Kurt Angle. Those would be the 5 that pretty much gravitated me towards wrestling the most. As far as like independent wise, overseas, Tetsuya Naito has been my favorite in New Japan for many years. He's one guy that I would love to see in person at some point. Wrestle.
I got to see him live once.
You did? Oh, I would love to see him wrestle in person.
Yeah.
See him live, but I would love to see him. I got to see. I was fortunate enough. You were probably there. I don't know if you were there, but I got to see Minoru Suzuki wrestle Jon Moxley. So I was happy that I don't know if you got to go.
Yeah.
But
no, I didn't get to go, but it was dope.
I was glad I got to see him.
To see it later. It was great.
Yeah, I'm glad I got to see him. It was cool to see him. So yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see Tetsuya Naito. A lot of guys from Japan. I'm a big New Japan fan, so a lot of guys from New Japan I would love to see get to wrestle in person. I got to see some of them, like Kenny Omega. I got to see him because he's with AEW now, the Young Bucks. I got to see some of those guys who were in Japan before that I got to watch a lot. But as far as like Tanahashi, Okada, Naito, Hiromu Takahashi, Hiroki Goto, those are some of my favorites in New Japan that I would love to see wrestle live in person. So, excuse me, that's on my bucket list to go to Wrestle Kingdom one year. I would love to go to Wrestle Kingdom at least.
That'd be great.
What about your top 5 favorite TV shows? It could be any TV show from any era. It could be any TV show that it could be 90, regular. It could be any TV show.
Number 1 is Bob's Burgers. Love Bob's Burgers. It is my
really? So you're really into that. That's your number 1. I love Bob's
Burgers, man.
Yeah,
it always puts a smile on my face, no matter what. It's great. Let's see, what's some other ones? Maybe I love The Office is one. I'm a big fan of How I Met Your Mother. That's another one. I like Dexter. That's another one. What's another one? Right now, I'm actually really enjoying Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, the live, not the animated, but the live. Because they have a live like action now, right, of the TV show, like the live.
Yeah, the live action one I watched. I've been watching. I was like, I really dig this. So we'll throw that one in there because it's the most recent to my memory.
I would say How I Met Your Mother is a really good show. I do like that one. Dexter. I've seen a couple, but I'm not like too familiar with it. I need to get more into it though, because I'm into stuff like that. I will say though, honestly, I was not a fan of The Office. I'm not gonna lie. I could never get into The Office. I don't know why. I've tried it, but it's never really. I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I don't know why. I've tried getting into it, but it just wasn't like my cup of tea. I guess I don't know. I couldn't really get into it.
I think it's just one of those shows that you either dig it or you don't. It's like my buddy Lord Crew. He hates it. He's like, I don't get it, man. I'm like, it's okay. You don't have to get it.
I would say my favorites, number 1 for me is The Fresh Prince. It's my favorite of all time.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Number 2, some people love it, some people don't. It's not for everybody but I guess it really just depends. But number 2 for me is Friends. I love Friends. I'm a huge fan of the show.
Friends is a good show.
Three, honestly, is Vikings. I don't know if you've ever seen Vikings, but one of the greatest shows I've ever
I've
seen in
been
my life.
told I should watch Vikings.
If
I
you
would
got into
probably
Game of
really enjoy it.
Thrones, oh Vikings, bro. Oh man, it's
I did
honestly,
like great. I did like Game of Thrones.
I'm gonna be honest. I liked Vikings more than Game of Thrones. I thought it was better. Like it wasn't as popular, but Vikings to me was such an incredible show. The acting, the story, it was so good, man. I highly recommend it. It's on Peacock. I think it's on HBO Max too. If you have either, I believe so. I think it's on Amazon. I think it's on Hulu as well. If you have those,
I
any of
have
those.
Peacock, so I'll check
Yeah,
that out.
Vikings is really good. Um, ooh, I would probably say maybe I'm into a lot of old school shows. I like the show Columbo. I don't know if people have ever seen it, but I'm really into a lot of old school shows.
I have seen Columbo. Yeah.
Yeah, so Columbo is one of my favorite shows of all time. I've seen every episode like multiple times. So I would say Columbo is up there, and maybe for the last one, maybe like maybe like the George Lopez show. I did love that show. The George Lopez show was one of my favorites.
Nice.
That was one of my favorites.
Nice.
I really did like that show.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that would probably. I would probably go with that. I'm probably the top three for sure. That Fresh Prince, Friends, and Vikings top three for sure. 4 and 5 can maybe switch out, but the top three is solid. Lot like those three shows.
Yeah, like man, so many good shows out there that I enjoy. That like now that if I really think about it, I'm like, man, now I really want to like figure it out because there's a lot.
What about your favorite? Before we do this one, you talked about current shows right now. The one show that I do like that is currently going on right now is called All American. That's probably my favorite show on TV right now. All American. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
Really,
yeah, I don't know if you've ever
I
seen it,
haven't.
but All American is a really good show. The first, so I think they're doing the third season is currently going on right now, but the first two seasons are on Netflix, and then after the third season, it'll be over. It'll be on Netflix, but um, um, All American, it's a really good show, man. I highly recommend it if people haven't seen it. What about? I don't know if you're a video game guy, but you have 5 video games that you love. It could be anything. I don't know if you're a video game person, but
Uh, I'm a little bit of a video game person, not like extreme, but most of my video games that I play are like kind of older school. Like uh, I think probably my all-time favorite game is probably Street Fighter 2. I
Street
love
Fighter Two.
Street Fighter. I love Mortal Kombat as well. Like pretty much that the whole the whole the whole thing.
Yeah,
All the Mortal Kombats I dig. Um, I think I'm a pretty big stickler for like Super Mario. I love Super Mario.
yeah, man.
I
Mario is so
have
fun.
I got a Switch last year for Christmas, and I played freaking Breath of the Wild like a madman. So
Yeah.
that's probably going to be in there. Um, and I always enjoyed the Resident Evil games. So, but then also I think I spent like I don't remember how old I was. I don't remember what year it was, but the year Wrestle or No Mercy came out for the N64,
Yeah.
I pretty much played that until I couldn't play it anymore. So that one probably.
Wrestling video game wise, for me, the way you play No Mercy, that's exactly how it was with SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Nonstop. So much effort into that game.
Yeah.
Literally played that. 2006 as well, but 2007, I religiously lived on that game. Like, I wouldn't play anything else besides that for a period of
Wasn't
time.
2007 the one with ECW in it? Is that
No,
one, or was that
that was
2006?
That was 08. That was 2008. 2008 was the one
That
with
was
ECW.
08?
Yeah. 2007 is the one with Triple H on the cover when he's like this posing, and he's like, it's kind of like other people like in the background throughout.
Okay. Yep.
So that one is probably that's definitely my favorite wrestling video game as far as video game wise. I'm a big fan of the Assassin's Creed series. I played all of them. I love the Assassin's Creed series.
Oh, I want to play that.
Yeah, I played them all. They're all so good, man. I highly recommend it if you never played. If you never got into it, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I've never played it, but I've always wanted to because I do like that style. Like Now that makes me think of the Batman Arkham games. I love the Batman Arkham games too.
Yeah, those are
Big
really
fan
good
of those.
too. The Last of Us series 1 and 2, literally two of the best games I've ever played in my life. Red Dead Redemption 2 was a really good game that I really loved. I played that over. I really love that game. God of War. I'm a big fan of the God of War series. I love that one.
I have
Go ahead.
Red Dead Redemption 2, but I have yet to play it. I haven't played it.
You
So I
need
need
you
to
to
get
hop on
on
that as
that.
soon as we get off here. As soon
I
as you get off
need
here,
to
we
get
need you
on
to
that.
hop right on that, man. We need to get on that. Another game too. It's a game called Detroit Become Human. I don't know if you ever played it or if you ever heard of it or ever seen it, but it may not look as good as it is, but the storytelling in the game is such an incredible game. It's one of my favorite games I've ever played. So it's called Detroit Become Human. Excuse me. I believe if you have PS Plus or PS Now, it's free, so you can download it for free. But it's a really good game, and I highly recommend that too if you never played that. Detroit Become Human, really good. Also, the Spider-Man that came out, the Miles Morales one and the one that came out a couple years ago for the PlayStation, really good.
Yeah, I actually I have the Miles Morales one that I haven't played either. So
Yeah,
I need to get on both of those. I need to get on Red and Miles Morales. Yep.
What about your top 5 favorite fast foods? Five fast food places, your go-tos.
Ooh.
I'll say mine. I'll
Fast
with mine.
food meaning
I'll
place with
start with
drive-throughs, right?
Yeah, I'll start with mine. I'll say Chipotle for sure, up there for me. Even though they have a drive-through, but Chipotle is definitely up there for me. I would also say Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is in my top. Steak and Shake is in there for me. Love Steak and Shake, so I'll put that one in there. McDonald's, I'll throw McDonald's in there. And then my last one, I would say Taco Bell. So those would be my 5 go-tos, I believe.
Let's see here. Uh, well, go with Five Guys. Love Five Guys.
Okay.
We're gonna go. We're gonna. All right. I guess we might as well count Gold Star as a
Yeah,
fast
Gold
food.
Star's the
So
fast food. Yeah,
we'll
Gold
go
Star.
with Gold Star. I'm gonna join you with the Chipotle because it's great after a workout. Just go and get a
Yeah.
chicken rice bowl. You're set. Um, let's see, that's three, right? Let's throw a firehouse or a rapid fire in there. That's gonna count. And I'm going to join you in Chick-fil-A as well because I haven't had it in so long. Like there's a Chick-fil-A right down the road from me. Every time I go to it, I mean, time is not a thing that is a fan of me. I don't get a lot of it.
Yeah.
Um, but every time I go over there, it's literally wrapped around the
The
building.
building.
So like if I want Chick-fil-A, I'm going to have to like wait an hour or more. So I haven't had it in so long that I really miss you, Chick-fil-A. I hope you can hear me and I hope you understand.
One day, Aaron Williams and Chick-fil-A shall reunite together, and they shall have. That's how I feel about the airport. They
One
had a
day.
Chick-fil-A. They had a Chick-fil-A in the airport, and then after COVID, they shut it down. It hasn't reopened since. It hasn't opened back up since then, and it's very upsetting.
Ooh,
What
man,
about top 5 favorite superheroes? I don't know if you're a superhero
rough
person.
days.
I don't know if you're into like superhero stuff or
I am.
do you have 5 favorite superheroes of yours? It could be from DC, Marvel,
I,
and
I,
any other.
I am. I am a bit of a. I mean, I don't know. I guess I could be considered a geek. I do love the superheroes.
Yeah.
So number one is Nightwing. Love Nightwing. He is my all-time favorite superhero. Um, Captain America is also high on my list of superheroes.
Nice.
And um, let's see, who else do I dig? Um, freaking A. I like Spawn. Uh,
On
I
okay.
like um, I like the Punisher. Um,
I'm sure it's very underrated.
and I
I feel
like Batgirl.
like Batgirl.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree, man. Like, yeah, yeah. Like start with Nightwing, end it with Batgirl. That's a
Yeah.
good call. Yeah. I mean, of course, I like Batman too because can't
I
have
mean,
Nightwing and Batgirl without Batman. But uh, I've always connected with like Nightwing and Batgirl a little bit more than I have with Bruce. I'm not as brooding as Bruce, much more personable.
I would say okay. Well, I would say number one definitely for me would be Thor. My favorite superhero of all time would be
Oh, all
Thor.
right.
Two, some people I think he's very underrated too. My second favorite superhero of all time is Aquaman, which is very slept on. I don't know if anybody says Aquaman.
Oh, okay, okay.
Aquaman.
I ain't mad at it.
I would say Wolverine for number three. Um, four would be Spider Man, and my fifth one, I'm gonna say Wonder Woman. I'm a big fan of Wonder Woman. I like
Oh,
Wonder.
okay. All right.
I liked Wonder Woman a lot. Spider Man is very popular too. Wolverine is very popular. I like Wolverine too, but Aquaman I feel like is highly underrated. I feel like he's very underrated if you ask me.
Like I've always found myself like as far as like comics go, I've always been more intrigued by like the secondary characters for some reason. So
Yeah,
like when other people would buy like a Justice League comic, I would buy like a Teen Titans comic, So like I'm
yeah,
more familiar with like Donna Troy and Roy Harper and got people like that. I guess that's why I gravitate towards like Nightwing, Dick Grayson,
yeah,
and Batgirl because they're kind of. I mean, they're obviously they have a following all their own, but in the
yeah.
grand scheme of things, I guess you would consider them like secondary. But
I would say that about
yeah,
Daredevil too. I feel like Daredevil is very underrated too. He's one of my favorites. I like Daredevil a
yeah,
lot.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think he gets talked about enough.
Have you seen the new Spider-Man movie?
I have seen it. I've seen it, and I know what you're talking about.
I've
I know what
saw
you're
it.
talking about. I know what
I've
you're
seen
talking
it twice, and we won't ruin it for anybody else that hasn't seen it.
I
But
know what you're talking about. I
it's
know what you're
it's,
talking about. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
it's
I
good.
know.
It's
I know.
good.
I saw it the day it came out, and
So did I.
honestly, I will say it's one of the top three greatest MCU movies ever. Like that movie is such.
Uh, I'm
It's
I'm
yeah.
gonna.
Yeah, the only
I
thing
agree.
for me personally, I would say it's the best, but I still, for me, I still would say Infinity War is my number one. Infinity War for me was just like I don't know. Infinity War to me was mind blowing to me. Like that movie was just such an incredible movie. Like that would still be my number one for me, but I would probably say Spider Man would be number
Yeah.
two, and then Endgame would be number three for me.
I mean, they're. I mean, they've gotten like those movies down to like a science now, man. Like it's. I think everybody has different favorites, and everybody enjoys them all for different reasons. And
Yeah,
like, they're all good though. Like, there's not a bad one among them, really. I mean,
and
you might have ones that you didn't enjoy as much as others, but they're all good.
all right. Last question before we get off here. This is a question for you to give other people if you want to get into the business. What is the best advice you would give somebody who wants to be a wrestler or wants to follow the wrestling business? What was the best advice you would say to them?
Um, First and foremost, I would say make sure you have a good trainer. Don't just get trained by anybody. Do the best you can to find a reputable trainer. That would be number one. Uh, Number two would probably be surround yourself with like minded people
Mm-hmm.
because this is a very difficult thing to do on your own. And you don't want to be doing this on your own. I did it by myself for a very, very long time until thankfully I found like minded people and they have made my life so much easier now. And third would be if you are going to do this and you want to make this a career, then treat it like a career. career. Treat it as if it is your 9 to 5 job, and somebody will fire you if you don't do it right. Um, and those are like three little tidbits of information that you could, I think you could take with you.
I think that's three good advices right there, man. I mean, I feel like I said, with so much wrestling out there now, a lot of people may want to get into it or expand it too. And I also think you can use social media to help that platform as well. I think social media has pros and cons, but I think a pro of it, is your social media can help get your platforms out there with wrestling if you wanted to get into it or somehow, what I mean? Maybe you could get found somehow, or, maybe you can find, like you said, a good training spot, somewhere, what I mean? Just from Google, or just maybe somebody like that, what I mean? So I would say those are good, three pretty solid advices right there, man. So I appreciate you for coming on and doing the interview. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk. Had a lot of good conversations, a lot of good questions. Just trying to brainstorm to get people to know you better. Maybe people who may be not familiar with you. But yeah, if you want, you can plug in your socials, man. Plug in all your stuff, tell people they can follow you and all that stuff if you want to, and maybe some upcoming things that you got going on within wrestling too.
Awesome, man. First, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I know that you are taking time out of your day and giving me a platform as well. So I greatly appreciate that. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it is Planet Williams 1, as in the number 1. If you want to follow me on Instagram, then it's just Planet Williams. I'm Aaron Williams on Facebook. If you do the Facebook, I have a Pro Wrestling and Tees account. You can go on YouTube. You can type in my name. If you have an IWTV account, you can type in my name and find plenty of my matches, and kind of get a feel for what I do and what my stuff is all about. And I will look forward to like hearing from you or seeing you or whatever. I also have a fully gimmicked account as well. That is another website you can go to, fullygimmicked.com, and check out some of the stuff I got there as well.
All right. Somebody wanted to know. I'll go ahead and you answer this one more time if you want to. Somebody wants to know, when are you coming back to IWA Mid South? I don't know if you can reveal that or not.
I am. Well, I'm sorry.
I said I don't know if you can reveal that or not. I don't know if that was like secretive or like.
Yeah. No. It's I haven't had any conversations about that yet. So I guess that's kind of in the air. We'll see. As of right now, I'm done for 2021. I will not have any more shows, but 2022, I have shows like scheduled from pretty much every weekend is full from now till, or from January to April, I think. So some shows I got are, I'll be at Emerge. I'll be at War Wrestling in Lima, Ohio. I'll be at Unsanctioned Pro in Columbus. I'll be at St. Louis Anarchy in St. Louis area. I got a lot of stuff going on. If you follow me on my social media, then it's easy to find out.
Yeah, so go check out his stuff, man. If you aren't familiar with him, you can go on YouTube and look at some of his stuff. But he's got a lot of good matches that you want to go check out, man. Go also follow his social medias and give him a check out, man. Appreciate you for joining me, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on. More than welcome to come back on the channel if you want to, man. Like I said, I'm sure I'll meet you again soon sometime. I'll be at the shows with Savion and stuff like that too. So, we'll run into each other again eventually, I'm sure. So make sure you guys give him a follow.
On, brother.
Thank you for